And what is going on, guys? Winter Kills here. Welcome back to a brand new post-commentary duel video. We've got pure Crusadia this time around versus the Endymion Spellbook deck that you guys have seen featured on my deck or my channel before. And this is a pure Crusadia build. It's different than the Crusadia Guard Dragon build you saw face off in another match that may have already went up at this point, I believe. But yeah, getting started here, I win the dice roll luckily enough, and I opened up pretty well, opening the spell power control with the Servant of Endymion. Such a strong opening, and I'll get 2 counters immediately onto Servant, and then following up with the Citadel to give me that 3rd counter to summon out Servant and a Jackal, a Mythical Beast Jackal King from my deck. And I think this is also the first time that the Spellbook Endymion deck has been featured in a duel video. About time, right? So, resolving a Spellbook of Secrets here, going for Blue Boy adding Knowledge. Gonna add 2 counters here and 2 draws, of course. 1 from the Secrets and 1 from the Knowledge. Now, I know I'm not adding the counters to the Jackal. They should be going to the Jackal, and I remember to add the counters to the Citadel as well. But the Jackal counters don't matter because I'm going to be linking them away momentarily for a copy of Electromite. So don't fret too much about that. Remembering the counters there for the Citadel, drawing 2. And now removing 3 off that Magical Abductor. One of my favorite cards to play in this deck, since you can resolve it once, as you saw me do there, and then go into a card like Electromite to stack my extra deck with whatever I need for my Pendulum Summon, and then I can blow up the Magical Abductor to add back itself, draw a card, and then play it again, get another counter on my Citadel, and then resolve its effect again, since it is not a hard once per turn. The only stipulation is you need another copy of it to resolve the effect again. So by destroying it and then adding it back and playing it again, able to resolve that effective Abductor here twice in a single turn. Very, very strong play there. It does take away some of the counters from my field spell, and of course the counters that I will have overall for the Jackal Kings that I'm going to summon, but I have a bit of a follow-up to secure the spell counter issue. Now, Pendulum Summoning 3, 2 Jackal King and 1 Endymion, and then using the Magical Boost to mill 2 to add up to 2 counters to a card I control. So everything on my field will gain a counter, the Jackal Kings each getting 2, the Citadel getting 1, and then I'm going to place the additional 2 counters onto the Citadel, because that's the counter well of the deck, if you will. That's where I want most of the counters being held. And the nice thing about the Citadel is it allows you to use basically to pay the cost of anything that would require the removing of spell counters. So that's why I was able to use that Abductor twice. First, I loaded itself up with counters, and then the second time, using all 3 counters taken from the field spell, which the field spell luckily lets you do. Lets you do it with cards like Jackal, lets you do it with cards like Servant and Magister. The only thing is, though, it is a hard once per turn, that effect. But pretty much have a very solid locked down field right now. And next turn, that Endymion that's sitting in my Pendulum Scale, basically a ticking time bomb. Because what's going to happen then is next turn, if he tries to establish a board, I'm just going to be able to special summon it and blow up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards on his field without targeting. So it's a very, very strong effect. All I need to do is remove 6 spell counters. Cannot be negated by monster effects. Gets around cards like Gaios, VFD, etc., because it's simply activating as a spell card. That's why the Mighty Master of Magic himself is such a powerful card, but he's nothing compared to Kumungus, the Sticky String Kaiju. Being able to power over top of that. Now, the only unfortunate thing for this Crusadia player is that he still has to play through 2 monster negates, and unless he has a copy of Crusadia Testament in his hand, definitely not going to be able to do that at the moment. Of course, clearing the Electromite a high priority. Clearing the scale is a high priority. That's why I think Pendulums, to this day, is still a busted mechanic. There's so many cards in its pool that just allow it to constantly recurve resources so easily. As you can see, shows the rest of his hand there. Had more plays to make, but they simply would have been negated. Now, we're going to game 2 here, where he starts off by normal summoning, I believe, the Leonis, and then linking that into the Magus, special summoning the true, not the true Draco, but the Draco itself, rather, adding back a card from grave and then adding a Crusadia monster from deck to hand. Now going into Regulex here, not going into Spatha, since this is not a Guard Dragon variant, rather a pure variant, similar to the one that you guys saw a deck profile of a few weeks ago. And now linking into the Regulex, resolving the Arborea, or not the Arborea, but the Regulex here to add a Crusadia Spell or Trap, and I believe going for the copy of Crusadia Crawler. I really, really like Crusadia Crawler in the main deck for pure Crusadia because it gives your Ecomax sort of a guaranteed free negate target while simultaneously allowing you to search a hand trap by way of the World Legacy World Lance. It's a very, very good battle hand trap that a lot of builds, I don't know if they play it as much, but it's really, really awesome to be able to search because when that trap card is flipped face up, you can special summon it to a zone and link monster points to, and if it's summoned to a zone and link monster points to, you get to add any World Legacy card from deck to your hand. So you could add Succession, you could add World Legacy World Crown, you could add World Legacy Secrets if you're playing a deck like, I don't know, Mech Knight or something, or you could add a copy of World Legacy World Lance, which again, going against a deck like Crusadia, where if somebody tries to beat over one of your monsters, you can simply say no, drop that monster by 3,000 attack, and odds are they're not going to get over it as easy as they thought they were going to. Now linking into the Ecomax, seeing what else can be done here. Still having a few cards left in hand as well. And a graveyard full of Crusadia monsters. We know he has the trap card. The trap card is at least a guaranteed negation during his turn. And also one thing I want to point out is the World Legacy World Lance, I believe, it did not come in the mail yet at the time that I was recording this video. So I think we were just playing 2 copies of World Legacy World Crown. Although I don't think it'll make too much of a difference here. Now, passing it over to me, I get started with the Spell Power Control. That will go through, not activating the Crawler in the standby phase, which I was sort of anticipating he would. But now after the effect resolves, going to special summon it. And sort of resolve the effect to search here as well. But now the most important thing is that Ecomax has a Crusadia monster to tribute to negate any face-up card. So Servant of Endymion comes down, or does it? But I realize I have a Master Cerberus in my hand and I can't resolve its effect if I have anything else in my Pendulum Zones. So I have to start my turn with that. But honestly, I don't know if I should have. I mean, my hand was great, don't get me wrong. It's just that the way I had to play it out made it so not so great. And since he was able to negate that Cerberus effect, it's locked into my scales now until next turn. So I have to play the Servant here and try and play the Secrets. He has the Ash Blossom for the Secrets. Fortunately for me, though, I have the Called by the Grave, so that gets me 2 counters, being able to resolve that Called by. Now trying to resolve the Blue Boy, that's met with an Infinite Impermanence, which of course is going to negate the Blue Boy, which at this point is pretty much going to shut my whole play down. Really needed to get to that copy of Knowledge to be able to get more spell counters on the Servant, and also be able to draw into some more combo pieces. But now, passing it back over to him and sitting here with just a 500 attack Blue Boy, I'm kind of a little nervous because the one thing about playing against Crusadia is that if you get to go first against them, you really have to hope you can set up a solid board, or else they're just going to go into the battle phase like you see him assembling here and just try to go for a game, because Crusadia doesn't really need any fancy combos. All they really need to do is drop your life points to 0, and Ecomax and friends do a very good job at that. So now we're just going to go ahead and head into game 3 right here, where I will opt to go first, hoping to be able to sort of set up an impenetrable board and make sure and hope that really that he doesn't open anything to be able to break it. He had the 1 Kaiju the first game, but as we saw, that was not enough to get through the barrage of just interruptions. A Spell Trap negate with Founding Sorcerer. We have the 2 monster negates by way of the Jackal Kings, and then of course the recurring resource threat that the Electromite poses to be pretty much every turn. Now getting started with the Servant, the Field Spell, and all that stuff, getting some counters on board, just trying to find out a way where I can resolve this Servant. Getting that 3rd counter out by playing the copy of Magical Abductor, removing 3 counters, and and special summoning it from the zone, or from the pendulum zone, and a monster in my deck that can have a spell counter on it. Of course, they will each get spell counters of their own. Now, from here, I'm forced to go into an early Electromite. Now, truth be told, I could have made a Crowley here to try to go into the Spellbook engine, and at a minimum, that would have gotten me knowledge, which would have allowed me to tribute away the Crowley to draw 2, getting at least 1 counter on top of my Abductor. But I didn't want to really take that risk. I just figured it'd be better off to try to at least complete my scales and draw a card, and maybe that card I draw will hopefully save me from this sort of weird field that I have to kind of climb out of. So the other 2 cards in my hand, I don't know exactly what they are at this point, but obviously not too helpful. Using Electromite's effect to send the Mighty Master of Magic, or the Founding Sorcerer, however you want to refer to him as, the OCG or TCG name. I personally like the OCG name a bit more. Using Electromite to pop the Abductor, draw a card, add it back, place it again, adding another counter to the field spell, and then drawing the spell power control for that draw off of Electromite, which was absolutely nuts. So be able to add any Endymion card from deck to hand. I'll place the additional counter onto Abductor so I can resolve its effect first, so I don't have to use the field spell. And then using that Abductor to add the Mythical Beast Jackal King from the deck to the hand as well. So seemingly a very grim field brought around to pretty much that of the field we opened on game 1. The only difference is I don't have the magical boost to be able to guarantee all those extra counters. Can't get a counter quite yet onto my Abductor to be able to sort of go with the combo with the Sorcerer Supreme to negate by bouncing that Pendulum monster in the zone back, because it has a counter on it, and then get the Electromite effect to draw. But passing it over to him, he's got the Gamma Seal for the 1, and he's got the Thunder King to special summon to run over the other Jackal King. Now, here's the kicker, though. He doesn't really have a way to sort of go into, you know, the battle phase to be able to run over the Electromite as well, because if he wants, you know, his effects to go through, he has to sort of go into battle phase. He has to Kaiju the other Jackal King. I was thinking there might be some way he could have done it, you know, like killed the Electromite in the battle phase. And the only thing I can think of is that he would have to hard make Regulex, as he did there, but not resolve the effect of Magus, because of course it would get negated and destroyed. But then he could make Regulex as it stands, and it would be boosted up by 22 from the Gamma Seal, and he'd be able to run it over there, but he would suffer the loss of a couple resources, you know, just having to sort of give up that Magus Search, and then, of course, Call by the Grave here, coming in a bit handy to be able to banish the target that Draco had. So no Maximus going back to his hand here. And the Called By will also place a couple spell counters onto the Abductor and the Citadel. And again, sort of ticking time bomb here, having 5 counters on my field spell with that Sorcerer Supreme in the Pendulum scale. Next turn, if he's not able to clear both scales, they will come out, or at least Endymion will come out to play rather, and prove to just completely annihilate what's left of his board. Going into Phoenix here to discard a Called by the Grave to hopefully pop the scale here and draw a card. Because why not try to, you know, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, gain back some resources while clearing an additional card. Although I will, you know, unfortunately for him, it will trigger my Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, which will give me an extra card to my hand because a card did leave the Pendulum Zone. Now, thinking he wants to go into Avermax here, and honestly, I didn't think this was a bad idea to be able to go into Avermax because outing it would be pretty difficult, but also going into an Ecomax would be almost just as difficult because it can provide a negation for next turn, and it's also going to be really hard to beat over, just about as hard to beat over as Ecomax himself, because at any time Ecomax is attacked, he can gain 3,000, or gain the attack of the monster that he's attacking. So, very hard to sort of get over both of those cards by battle, but the Ecomax will allow for a little bit of negation presence. The World Legacy Succession, which may have been the card he drew off that Phoenix effect, summoning the Reclusia off of that, using the effect of Reclusi here to be able to destroy a Crusadia card he controls and destroy a card on my side of the field. Obviously, destroying the Electromite here would have been a priority, but just sort of tunnel vision on the clearing of the scales, which I really can't blame. I always have PTSD against playing against pendulums. As clear the scales, clear the scales, clear the scales. But now we also have to worry about the Electromite. So, in theory, he could have cleared the Electromite there, which would have been a pretty smart move. But not clearing the Abductor allows me to use my field spell next turn, or use the Abductor, and subsequently get another scale for my deck for free. But you're saying, you know, he would have had a negate for the Abductor. That is true. He does resolve the Crusadia Crawler here, but I technically could have gone into battle phase preemptively to run over the Crusadia Crawler. So there would be no negation available for him, no cards to tribute for the Equimax. That would have forced my battle phase, yes. But yeah, I still think whatever card he pops there doesn't make too big of a difference. I think popping the Electromite may have been a better decision, but I think that the thing that killed him the most is having to use his battle phase earlier on, and you know, not being able to clear both the second Jackal King and the Electromite in the battle phase is probably what hurt the most. But I draw the Supreme King Gate 0 for turn because I decided to drop some excess spellbook cards, cards like Fate and Wisdom, the Upstart Goblin, and the Celestial Observatory, for 2 copies of Dragon Shrine, 2 copies of Dark Worm, and the Supreme King Gate 0. And I also dropped a copy of Called by the Grave, I think. Dropped that down to 2, I think, at least in my online build. And now going into Cerberus here, since I can make it co-linked with that Equimax, which is pretty nice. So I'll be able to discard and draw if he lets it goes through, but I didn't think he would because I'm trying to target that Crusadia Crawler just to be able to force the negate. Which I guess I could have forced the negate, or just, you know, got rid of the negate via battle phase, so I don't think it makes too big of a difference. A bit of a misplay sort of on both our parts here. But using Electromite, popping Gate 0 to add back the Magical Abductor and draw a card as well, having 7 spell counters on that Citadel, now 8, removing 3 to resolve the Abductor, to add any Pendulum monster from my deck to my hand. And I believe I end up going for the Chronograph Sorcerer because I think my 2 8 scales, at least the Sorcerer Supreme, or the Mighty Master of Magic, however you want to refer to him, as I said earlier, they're both in my extra deck. Playing the Chronograph Sorcerer here, sort of finalizing things. You know, the writing is on the wall at this point. Pendulum summon for 3, able to go 2 Jackal, and then a 3rd from the extra deck because of that extra zone my Cerberus is giving me. And next turn, to be honest, if he had any other Crusadias to get back, since I was not able to clear the Equimax, he could have potentially gamed me, but I just don't think he had the resources to. That's the scary thing, is that even though I was able to have a board filled with all of those monsters, I was still not able to beat over the Equimax, simply because it was at 36 and nothing on my field could get over it. Now, also, you know, one thing I could have done is, instead of adding back Abductor, add back the Mighty Master of Magic, play him in the scale, and then remove 6 to blow it up, and then push for game completely right then and there after baiting out the Crawler effect. There's tons of different ways that could have played out. So, pretty interesting matchup there, if you ask me, between Pure Crusadia and the Spellbook Endymion deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more matches like this in the future, let me know what types of decks you want to see face off, and I'll probably get some more duel videos up once I'm back from vacation. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out Imperium Duelist if you haven't, providing some awesome sleeves and mats, etc., etc. They're linked to them down in the description below, and that discount code you can use as well. And yeah, so always want to kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.